place where people will come and exchange their costumes, choose a new costume, make a costume, fix costumes. Yeah, so it really does what it says on the tin. You know, it is a costume workshop, and it's work. And so, to take you through it briefly, because it's quite an extensive process, we have our theme, we have our teams arranged, we have our designers picked out, and the designers will submit a design, sometimes two designs, and the committee, the design review team they're called, who are also handpicked as well, they will say yes, no, because, can you adjust it? Can you add this? Can you take this away? And so the designers will go back and they will refashion it according to the notes given. And hopefully by the second submission, it'll be a yes or a no. Obviously, the designers are seasoned enough to know that we're always on a budget and it's often very tight. And so we're sensible with costing. We have to account for trim. We have to account for all the tassels, trimmings, the structures for the bras, for example, things like that. And then it's all systems go. Once the designs are approved, etc., and the costings are all made and nice and understood, and we've sourced our materials, then the workshops go up, and by then everybody will have known by then, courtesy of the communications team, that the workshops are on, when they're on, the times they're on, and for everybody to get involved. And then we have the I'm putting it in a really compact way, but then we have the visitors, the volunteers, etc. It takes a while to get used to the pace. Obviously, when I first started, I didn't know anybody that well, and so to get used to personality, because costume is very different in the sense that it's not as though I dance with everybody or I play with everybody, but I know people's temperaments, and I know people's fittings, and I know people's worries about different parts of their body, so I have to be sensitive to things like that. And then there's nerves on top of it, irrespective of what performance, where the performance is, the size, indoors, outdoors, there's going to be nerves. And I know you just have to, I as a costume person knows I will have how many people coming to me at once, and I have to almost have 20 ears and to be able to answer people effectively and in a timely way, and to be prepared for their worries, etc. But all that while I will be very conscious of time and very conscious of the fact that we, without a doubt, have to be on stage or at the start of a parade or hearing the hepiki start up, you know, they have to be ready. Oh yeah, and I would say Coburg again, about 2 years ago. The longer you are in costumes, the more you realise the quirk of not only the people, but the costumes themselves, and the costumes will just reveal things to you. I believe it was Ash on stage as the Mestre Sala. Of course it was the main stage, of course everything was going swimmingly, smoothly, and of course his back feathers fell off. I couldn't have felt worse about it. I mean, he went on and did a stunning job, etc. But that, as a costume person, maybe he's forgotten it, maybe other people have forgotten it, I'll never forget it. So since then, if there's one costume that I ensure is firmly tacked in and it's not going nowhere, it's a particular Mestre Sala costume. Thank you, Coburg. A number of different feathers, number of different lengths of feathers, number of different colours of feathers, width of feathers as well. It took a while for me to understand the world of feathers, but I think I've kind of got it maybe, but there's probably more for me to learn anyway. So we use different kinds of feathers. We use pheasant, a lot of pheasant. These give that nice sort of curve. They're very elegant to look at. Well, they're all elegant. They're really elegant to look at anyway. And they do, and they really just speak for themselves, especially when they're coloured so beautifully, and often when they're worn in in a collection like so, you really have the full impact, and it gives that sort of wow element. There's your pheasant feathers there. We also have rooster, cock feathers. And again, different colours, different sort of ways that we will dress it up. This is called tipping, where we take one feather and attach it to another to give it maximum volume and colour and fun, etc. So that's used quite widely for upper sister costumes. We use the tipping effect. It's quite a common effect. We have peacock feathers. This is probably the most familiar to most people. And so this is also used for added embellishments. Oftentimes the peacock feathers aren't used en masse. I think they're just nice highlight feathers because they're quite iridescent, and it sort of shows up beautifully in certain lights as well. So according to the gig, we'll use the costumes with pheasant feathers because it will pick up the light and attract quite well. And every dance looks beautiful with any feather really, but the peacock just brings something out. And we have the chicken feather. Chicken feathers are really quite widely used. They're good for they're quite plentiful. You know, you can use even these for tipping, you know, or like that, you know, depending on the effect you want, or you can double it up like so, you know. Okay, this is the CDF costume, which we wore at the 2014 carnival, or the tour, and I think that this is a very good example of the story of LSS. It's the story of us, and so when I look at this, it even now tells a story. I mean, quite apart from the fact that I remember the labour that went into it and the thought process and all of that, I think this is a lovely example of how, as I was saying earlier, for me, oftentimes it's not the whole of a theme. Oh, I like 2013. Oh, I like 2014. There are bits of a carnival ala that I like. Because they have real deep meaning, and this is one example of what a costume stands for, the message, which then becomes the message of the whole parade. So this is the CDF costume that was worn in 2014, and it was called On the Road, and it does what it says. Here is a road, and we are on it. The road to the future, the road from the past, and it's paved with beautiful diamantes, and I love that as a story, as a message. We have that, and it's very London as well, because we also have the headpiece that goes with it as well, which is very London. It's really beautifully, thoughtfully planned out, you know, the traffic lights, so intrinsically London-based, you know. And then, of course, there's this quirky element of the steel drums as a bra, which I think was really clever and cute as well. Of course, being Samba, there was feathers. There are feathers as well, red, amber, and green. Yeah, and so that's why I particularly I smile when I see this one, because it really tells a story, and always will. It's a classic. In terms of the future, I think that where we're going is quite nice, actually, in terms of being much more experimental with what we do. When we were doing the Olympic Park this year, Tea in the Park, I think it was called, quite a number of people who have known LSS for so many years, they've noticed a distinctively fresh, new way that we are dealing with things. We are presenting ourselves. We are the change in the musical style, the dance style. I particularly love the approach that we had at who didn't love the Coburg with the Orisha, the dance and the music just worked beautifully together. It was fresh and it was new and it was different. So to stay on that path and to acknowledge the fact we are made up of so many different people from so many different cultures, yeah, and to open our wings more to, you know, appealing to all the different cultures and having that represented as best we can. Yeah. Involves an email which I have you know, quite regularly, people saying, hey, I want to get involved, this is my background, this is what I enjoy doing, I'm not the best at sewing, I don't know how to use a sewing machine. Doesn't matter. Getting involved means getting involved, and everything, as I say, is important, from whether you are an expert beader or a gluer or a cutter. It's just a question of letting me know and coming down.
Atravessei o mar, do Pão de Açúcar ao Big Bang. Só alegria, nosso samba, rei da folia, soa unidos, damos de bateria. Ninguém vai conseguir ficar parado quando começar. Reis e rainhas com o povo irá sambar.